So we talked all night about the rest of our lives. Where we're gonna be when we turn 25. Keep thinking times will never change. Keep on thinking things will always be the same. When we leave this year, we won't be coming back. No more hanging out 'cause we're on a different track. And if you got something that you need to say, you better say it right now 'cause you don't have another day. 'Cause we're moving on and we can't slow down. These memories are playing like a film about Sam and I. Keep thinking of the night in June. I didn't know what you loved, but it came too soon. And then it's the end, you know, and then we got real blue. Stay at home, talking on the telephone. We would get so excited and we get so scared. Laughing at ourselves, thinking life's not fair. And this is how it feels. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change, from whatever, we will still be friends forever. So if we get the big jobs and we make the big money, when we look back now, will the jokes still be funny? When we still remember everything we learned in school? Still be trying to break every single rule. A little birdie Bobby be the stockbroker man. Can never find a job that wanted to feel with a tan. I keep thinking that it's not goodbye. Keep on thinking it's our time to fly. And this is how it feels. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever.
Oh boy.
When we think about tomorrow like we think about now, can we survive it out there? Can we make it somehow? I guess I thought that this would never end. And suddenly it's like we're winning and men. Will the past be a shadow that will follow us round? Will this memories fade when I leave this town? I keep thinking that it's not goodbye. Keep on thinking it's our time to fly. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. As our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever. As we go on,
Good morning, Fareed. Happy last day. Good morning.
Good morning, Gab.
Hello.
Good morning.
Jess, you are like looming in the darkness.
I'm trying to figure my life out. Hang on, I'll be back.
Okay.
Last night I wore skinny jeans, which you would think would prevent you from getting bitten by mosquitoes, but somehow managed to make their way through the jeans or in them, which was quite a feat as they didn't have a lot of space to do that.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, they're tricky.
Very. Okay.
Is that a little bit better?
Yes. Yes. You looked like a very like intimidating shadow person before. So
Like I'm in my back room because like everybody else is sleeping still,
gotcha.
and it's literally the darkest room in the house, so it's just got to work with what we got.
Yes, I understand completely.
It looked a little like you were an anonymous informant on a news show.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the goal.
Oh, that's so funny. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
All right, you got me up early this morning.
Well, thank you for being here. We really
It's no problem. It is no problem.
Gabby,
Mhm.
I texted Fareed this morning. I said happy last day in Macomb, and like all
Yes.
the confetti things.
Oh, poor Fareed.
I know, right?
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good, good. How are you?
Good. Happy last day of Gateway.
Yeah. Now, Gabby, this is until December, right?
Right.
Do you all have dates?
I think they're still being solidified, but it's gonna start around like the end of November, I think, like right after Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and then run for 3 weeks again.
Okay.
So so November 30th is a Monday. So I believe the plan is to do November 30th through December 18th.
Okay.
Those 3 weeks between like Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
But we will let you know as more details
Yeah. Okay.
get solidified.
The end of the semester crunch.
Exactly.
Yep.
I had a question about the discussion group today. It said something about showing an image from a slide.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I assume that's a slide you'll be showing, Danielle. Is that right?
Gabby, we have that slide available, right?
Yeah. So
But you guys didn't see the slide?
No.
The facilitators?
No, we don't have that.
I
don't
believe
think I do.
Yeah, I know I sent out the image with the facilitator guide. But I can email the 5 of you or the 10 that
Yeah, because I thought I remember seeing it among, like when we sent the final thing, because I remember you telling me, hey, we're gonna show this. So for the facilitators for today, yeah, you guys really do need to see the image.
Right.
And it shows a picture of, it's the same picture, right? Because this is like something that's been popular in, with diversity
Yeah, yeah.
training in general. But it's the same picture of some people, like a family at a ballpark rooting. Well, one side shows equality and the other side shows equity. And a lot of it has to do with their level of preparation to be able to participate in the game. And so, the students will see that, and there's a lot of good questions here to really talk them through. But they need to kind of reckon with this idea of equity. And that's the real big thing that we're pushing, because we've talked so much about equality as, hey, everybody has the same opportunity. But it's not just about, giving people an opportunity. It's about understanding people's preparation to really assume those opportunities and be successful at it. So one of the examples that I'll share is through the medical school, and how a young person, two people could get accepted to medical school and literally be on two different footings, two different levels of preparation to be successful in medical school. And then the other example, if I have time, will be like a workplace setting. So I'll prep it with that, I'm going to do 2 slides in my pre-conversation that really just kind of remind them of what we learned about equality, the difference between equality and equity. And then we'll go into the breakout rooms. And the goal is really to have them look at the 2 different photos and really get into it, in terms of how somebody can have the same opportunity but not have equity.
Right. Yeah. I assumed this was probably the image that you were talking about.
Yeah, me too. And I was like, do I need to find it on the internet?
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
great. I'm so glad that we had a couple minutes to have this conversation. It's really
Yeah.
a good discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a super interesting image.
Yeah.
Have you seen the more recent one that there's been a couple of additions or adaptations because some people have criticized this image
Yeah.
in various ways, as I'm sure you know, and so people have like made alterations to it to try to
Yeah.
indicate, to try to illustrate the idea of inclusion more,
Yeah.
yeah, that yeah, the argument I guess was that the image itself internalizes some of the like notions around inequality, like the image itself, like the idea there's a
Oh,
whole ground, for example, and
yeah.
like so some people alter the ground as they
Wow.
in the image so that the ground is anyway.
Okay. Well, critical scholarship is always critical.
Right.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, so I tried to bring the puppy in here today. I think I'm gonna run him and put him in the crate.
Great.
Right,
I'm
come on,
gonna start letting people in, but I did just email everybody
Okay.
to
Thank you.
let them know.
All right, let's go in the crate.
Hold on, let me.
Yep, got it.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna bring this up and this and okay, I'm gonna admit everybody now.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to today's session. We will get started in just a few minutes. So in the meantime, as per usual, just make sure your breakout group name is displayed in front of your name on Zoom, and make sure your camera's on and your mic is muted, and we will get started momentarily. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your last synchronous session as part of the virtual Gateway orientation. I can't believe these 3 weeks have gone by already, and I'm really excited to wrap up with you today after a very successful 3 weeks together virtually. Just a friendly reminder, as always, this main room is being recorded, but your breakout rooms will not be. So feel free to use that space as a place to share openly any thoughts that you have, but just know anything shared in this main room will be recorded. Our topic for today is conversations about race and social change in America. So you all have completed the asynchronous component of this topic in Canvas. And now we are thrilled to once again be back with Dr. Danielle Paget, who's led us through so many productive and engaging discussions so far. I know you all have already learned so much from her, and we're excited to really go out with a bang today with another, amazing session with her. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Dr. Danielle Paget.
Okay, thanks so much, Gabby, and welcome everybody. Thank you so much to our facilitators for today, being here to kind of guide us through this conversation about race. I'm hoping that today's conversation and just this lesson in general, even though this is kind of the end, that it will also be a beginning for all of us in terms of what we can discover about ourselves and what we can discover about ourselves through other people. So what I'd like to do, I know that you see an image up on your screen, and this is the one that's going to take us into our breakout rooms. But I'd like to kind of, as I do always, kind of set us up first. So if you remember in the lesson, I think this lesson had 2. So this was lesson 2. We talked about some key terms and broke down the difference between diversity and inclusion, and then equality and equity. So I'm going to pay more attention today to that segment of the lesson that focused on equality and equity. And then we're going to do an exercise that's going to take us into a little deeper discussion. So one of the things that we learned in that lesson was that when we're talking about equality, that it has more to do with giving people the same opportunities or saying everyone has the same opportunities, when in fact, in many cases, people don't. And so when we look at equity, it really is about positioning people for access to opportunity. And if you can kind of think about that in relation to the image that you're going to take into the breakout rooms, how well positioned people are to be able to fully participate or be able to really realize actual equity. Yeah. So I think another word that I would say for us is fairness. And so when we look at policies and things, right now at the university, we have what the president is calling a social justice action committee. And one of the things that he's asking us to do, we've already been doing diversity work, right? And so really harnessing the difference that we have. We've already been talking about inclusion, which is more about, people's feeling of belongingness or connectivity to a particular environment. But now we're pushing off with current events to really looking at social justice. And so equity across the board. And so I would say the word fairness, and then I would say particularly when we look at what kind of policies and things we have that help people thrive in different spaces. And particularly a lot of this stuff is in workspaces. And so you might think about policy in relation to the previous lecture on navigating interpersonal relationships that talked about sexual harassment. So we might think of policy there, or discrimination on the basis of some aspect of difference, okay? So equity might involve looking at ways that we respond to personal or professional bias. The last time that we were together, we talked a little bit about implicit bias. And so it might be really putting that in check. And so some examples related to issues of equity would be equity in terms of pay discrepancies between different populations, Here, we have a pay gap between men and women. And so really looking at that. Equality would say, well, what do you mean? You know, you all have the same opportunities. You know, men and women have the same opportunity to get a management position. But then equity would say, as we really do an audit of the men and women in those management positions, we find that there's thousands of dollars worth of a pay gap. So while both are there represented, they are not equal in terms of their value, and the dollar says that. So that's a kind of difference between equality and equity. Racial, religious, and sexual discrimination lawsuits, that's another one, you know, that's also very big. Lack of systems in place to train people and promote people or certain groups to management positions. I just finished doing dialogue circles on race for an automotive company here, and listening to their employees, that was one of the biggest things that they talked about was, you know, the systems that are not in place. And even sometimes when systems are in place, it's very subjective because it depends on who's managing those systems. So whether or not this person gets ahead or that person gets ahead, it's somebody's opinion about whether they're a good fit. And so when we say something like that, what do we really mean? What system is in place to make sure that things are equitable? Let me see how we're doing on time. Are we ready to go into our rooms, Gabby? Because you know I can roll with another example.
We have a couple more people that are making their way in.
Okay, good. So let me just keep on going for like a minute or two, because you know,
Perfect.
this is really this is a good topic. So the other example that I wanted to mention was, you know, we myself and my mentor in my department, we're in the Department of Communication. We did some diversity work with the medical school on campus. And what was really interesting when you look at equality and equity, I've also done some research on retention. So at the undergraduate level, looking at underrepresented students, how are they retained at a university? And what are some of the challenges that they experience as they try to matriculate toward graduation? And it was really deep because, you know, when we look at the admissions process for medical school, right? We could say that, hey, you know, I'm looking at, and this is here in the US environment, I could be looking at, and in particular, our Latinx students and African-American students have great challenges when it comes to representation and, you know, marginality here. And so if we were to look at, say, white, Latinx, and African-American, that maybe 3 students have been admitted to medical school at the same time, right? So everybody got in, and now they're all there on the day of orientation and they have to get ready to start medical school. When we start looking at backgrounds, and I don't want to generalize because these are specific situations, so you can't generalize, but in many cases, you may have one student who maybe they're a legacy in medical school, right? They have an uncle or aunt, their mother, somebody is also a doctor, they have paved the way. You might have another student who, because of where they lived, right? The community that they were in, they had a wonderful, went to a wonderful high school, highly, you know, a technological environment. Maybe they had a pre-med program. Maybe, you know, somebody was able to do an apprenticeship at their relative's doctor's office. And then you have another student that, because of their geographic location or lack of opportunity, they're in medical school, but they haven't had any of those other opportunities. So what do you think is going to happen when they all sit in class on that first day and the second day and the next month and the next year? So sometimes that lack of preparation, it doesn't mean that one of those students won't be successful, because it could surprise you. It could be the one, you know, who is most successful is the one who had the lack of opportunity, but that person would have to work that much harder. And so as you begin to look at the image, I'd like you to kind of take that into your breakout rooms and really be thinking about, it's not the fact that just everybody's able to be there, but how well prepared are we? Do we have equitable systems in place at these other levels? In that example, it would have been in the secondary education system. What kind of systems do we have in place at that level to help students advance and to help them be most successful? What kind of mentoring is in place once students get to the university level to help students advance to that next level and the next level? Okay, so I'm getting the nod, and what's going to happen is you're going to take this image into your breakout rooms, and you have these wonderful facilitators who are going to guide your conversation. And I've got some questions that I'd like you to answer when you get into the breakout rooms. I'm really interested, they're going to take you through the specific questions, but I'm really interested in what you see here and what you can kind of pull out in terms of what this communicates about marginalization and disadvantage. Okay, so I'm going to see you on the other side. And I think you have about 25, 30 minutes to be in these breakout rooms. So we'll see you soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Padgett. So for everyone's reference, I'm going to go ahead and put the questions that you'll be discussing in the chat before you break out. So you should see those in the chat. And then the image that you just saw, your facilitators will also share that on their screen so that you can take a look at that and really delve into these questions and analyze that picture together. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we send you to your breakout rooms is that we know you're going to discuss just so many different interesting thoughts and ideas in these discussions. But when we come back together to share out, we really want you to think about one key idea or point that your group talked about that you would really like to share with everyone. Again, we know that you all are going to have many interesting ideas to choose from, but whoever your scribe is in your group, who's going to share out at the end, we want that scribe to just focus on one kind of overarching idea. So make sure you keep that in mind when we do come back together. But in the meantime, I will send you off. I will see you in about 25 minutes. So talk to you all soon.
And away they go.
And away they go.
All right, I'll see you in a few.
All right, sounds good. Hi there. Both of you should see an option to join a breakout group, which is where we're at now. If you look near the bottom of your screen, you should see something that says breakout room or if you don't see that, there should be an icon that says more that you can click on that then allows you to join breakout group.